Greetings, everyone. Gleekon piping through your screen and ears one more time, bringing you another installment of Lore of Warcraft, the show where we join hands to cover everything in the World of Warcraft universe. I play through all of the games. We are almost done with Classic Era, about 3/4 of the way done with the Completionist, every line, every quest walkthrough. And we also cover all of the canon lore. We are all the canon lore up through Classic has done. We just did an installment in Chronicles talking about the mysteries of Maraudon. And at least once weekly, we will also visit some of the non-canon or now defunct lore. So a lot of that comes from Warcraft Encyclopedia. Some of the more weird, esoteric stuff we've done in order for the most part. A lot of the art books we've slotted in there. Some of the comics and manga stuff are also out there if you check out my previous playlists. If you like what you hear today, and again, this is more of an audio format when I do these lore videos, so sorry for the lack of animations. One day my eyes are set to the sky to see if I get time and resources enough to animate and spend all that time, but alas, I have a full-time job, so this is my side project. But if you want to put this in the background, or pause me and read it yourself instead of going to the website, weirdo, check out this video, like, subscribe, check out my other videos. And if you like all of this and you want to see more of it, maybe through the Assassin's Creed lens, check out my Patreon, gleekon.patreon.com. All right, here we go. Stay a while and listen to this episode, which is about Anasterian Sunstrider. This is a Warcraft Encyclopedia entry. These have been superseded and replaced. First, they disappeared when Blizzard redid its World of Warcraft website. They completely overhauled it and basically ditched all the lore because they wanted a chance to retcon it, which they did in Chronicles. A lot of it was good stuff, or they didn't change much, but that's why we look at these to see what has changed. Okay, so he is designated as a high elf. He is a descendant of Dathramar Sunstrider. King Anasterian ruled the High Elves during the latter part of the Troll Wars, when defeat began to seem inevitable. Greatly outnumbered, the Elves were losing ground and the outlook worsened every day as their casualties climbed. Even their most powerful magics were of little use, and there are only 3 short entries on this doomed leader. Strange Alliance, which Strange Alliance hits the chronology where we are right now. We're about 2,000 to 3,000 years prior to the opening of the Dark Portal. So a lot of time has jumped recently. There's really a big stretch of time between the Sundering and the rise of this Elven Empire, which is really minimally discussed in any of the lore. They're like, kind of the humans came to power then. There's some human history, but really not a lot. Anasterian hit upon a radical idea. His scouts had reported that a human nation named Arathor had recently formed to the south. One tribe had risen to dominance through the simple expedient of offering amnesty to the people it defeated. That such a strategy was new among humans was a testament not only to the youth of their race, but also to their willingness to gain strength via clear-sighted pragmatism. Although the humans had no spellcasters, Arathor had a sizable population, and Anasterian was certain there had to be humans with magical talent. They merely needed training in order to be useful in combat. He therefore dispatched ambassadors to the Southlands with all speed. So this is already an interesting, deeper dive into the psychology of this alliance between the two nations, particularly from an elven perspective. King Thoradin of Arathor greeted the ambassadors with surprise and wary courtesy. He had been hearing rumors of the High Elves' plight for months, but he had not suspected that the trolls posed a truly significant threat. The weary elves warned the king that the troll armies were vast. Should Kael'thas fall, the trolls would certainly besiege Arathor next. The king was distrustful of magic, but he could not deny that the elves had a point. Further negotiations ensued until at last Anasterian and Thoradin had reached an agreement. Almost immediately, elven sorcerers arrived in Arathor and began to instruct a group of humans in the ways of magic. 100 men were taught the very basics of the elves' magical secrets. No more than was absolutely necessary to combat the trolls. So, 100 is the magic number. Imagine a variation of the movie 300, the Spartan movie, but called 100. And it just is the story of these 100 mages, these 100 human mages that fought in that battle. That's, and nothing else. You could have a cool quest line full of unique, standout-y characters, a la like 13 Ronin, but 100. In addition to these new spellcasters, Thoradin sent his armies to the battlefront. Together, the humans and high elves ultimately achieved victory over the trolls, who would never fully recover from their defeat. Assured that Kael'thas was saved from destruction, the elves made a pledge of loyalty and friendship to the nation of Arathor and to the bloodline of King Thoradin. Humans and elves would coexist in peace for over 2,000 years. That brings us to the second entry, Conflict in the Borderlands. Sorry, the voice is a little bit off today. When the Horde attacked humanity in the Second War, the High Elves had little interest in the conflict, but they felt duty-bound to lend the Alliance of Lordaeron their support. In particular, the commander of the Alliance forces was Lord Anduin Lothar, who was the last descendant of the Arathi bloodline. Lothar's family had aided the High Elves in fighting the Troll Wars, and so King Anasterian reluctantly agreed to provide a small number of soldiers and spellcasters who would fight alongside the Alliance. The king and his people would soon see the conflict in a more personal light. Horde forces worked their way north, burned down the borderlands of Kael'thas, and slaughtered many High Elves. Horrified at the Horde's wanton destruction of life, the High Elves officially joined the Alliance and committed all their resources to the war. Ultimately, the Orcs were defeated and most of them were rounded up and put into internment camps. So, again, we've rehashed that quite a bit of time, the reason why the Elves officially joined the Alliance, which is just a shame because they are such a cool race, but were abandoned and changed. I mean, I guess we kind of still get them in the Blood Elves, but I guess I wanted to focus on Night Elves instead. I don't know, from an artistic perspective. Downward spiral. In the aftermath of the war, the High Elves began to doubt the value of the Alliance. Humanity seemed to need the High Elves, but had little to offer in return, especially now that a large portion of Alliance resources was allotted toward maintaining the internment camps. At last, Anasterian rescinded the High Elves' allegiance to the Alliance. He stated that the humans' poor leadership had been directly responsible for the burned forests in the borderlands of Kael'thas. King Taranis Menethil argued that nothing of Kael'thas would have survived if not for the hundreds of valiant humans who gave their lives to defend it. Despite his attempts at re-establishing diplomatic relations, however, the elves opted to remain independent of the crumbling alliance. Their departure triggered the additional secession of the Gilneas and Stromgarde nations. Anasterian was still in power years later when the Death Knight Arthas Menethil led Scourge forces into Kael'thas and defiled the Sunwell. The king and most of his people were slain in battle by the undead. His son, Prince Kael'thas Sunstrider, was in Dalaran at the time of his invasion, and so Kael'thas is the last surviving member of the royal family. Okay, so we have basically read that, but it's kind of interesting to read about Kael'thas Sunstrider's father. Okay, so we have got ourselves set up pretty well to continue. I believe the next one that we'll have is another short story of Fable, if you check out the Fables line. We're pretty far along in the Fables playlist. I want to say there's somewhere around 10 to 13 stories. We'll drop that one on the 4th of July. Over the next couple episodes, we will be dealing with Maraudon, whether we run it on both characters. I'm not 100% sure. We will at least run it on Alliance tomorrow. So you get to see me do a full completionist walkthrough of Maraudon on a classic character. It might take me a second episode to just decompress from that or wrap up some quests. We're going to see. If it doesn't, if it goes swimmingly, we might get back to back where I run it with Horde as well. So everyone, I appreciate you. Again, if you like, smash that subscribe, leave a comment, tell your wife and kids, or your husband and kids, or just a bunch of random kids. This episode's in the pipe 5x5.